Eli Ward stood at the edge of the jungle, holding his metal detector tight. His boots sank into the soft mud with every step. Thick green vines hung from tall, dark trees. The air smelled of wet earth and old secrets. At the base camp behind him, the radio crackled. "Eli, come back already," a voice laughed. "You're chasing fairy tales. There's nothing out there." Eli smiled to himself but didn't answer. He knew what the others thought. They believed he was wasting his time. They believed he was foolish. But Eli had heard the stories, the old village tales of something hidden deep in the jungle, something not made by human hands. He pushed forward, cutting through the vines with his meshite. His metal detector beeped softly now and then, but it always led him to nothing. Old coins, lost tools, scraps of junk. Still, he didn't stop. Something deep inside him said he was close. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky, and the jungle grew hotter. Mosquitoes buzzed around his head. His arms ached. His legs burned. But Eli kept walking. Suddenly, the metal detector screamed. "Beep, beep, beep." Eli froze. He looked down. There was nothing but a giant tree, older than anything he had ever seen. Its roots twisted into the ground like snakes. The detector beeped louder, as if whatever was hidden was right below him. Heart pounding, Eli dropped to his knees and began to dig with his hands. The dirt was wet and heavy. Roots clawed at his fingers. But he dug deeper, faster, until finally, clink. His fingers hit something hard. Something smooth. Not rock. Not wood. Something cold. He pulled away more dirt and stared. A piece of strange metal shone under the mud. It was silver, but not like any silver he had seen before. It had no rust, no scratches. It was perfect. Too perfect. Eli grabbed his radio. "Base camp, you won't believe this," he said, breathing hard. "Found a shiny rock." Someone joked back. "No," Eli said. "Found something else." He turned off the radio. They wouldn't believe him. He barely believed it himself. The ground under him trembled softly, like a distant heartbeat. Eli sat back, shocked. Was it an earthquake? No, it felt too controlled, like something under the earth was alive. Eli stood up and looked around. The jungle was strangely silent now. No birds, no insects, nothing. Carefully, he cleared more dirt. As he dug, he uncovered strange lines carved into the metal. They formed symbols, curves, circles, sharp angles. It looked like a language, but not one from Earth. Excitement and fear fought inside him. His dream was coming true, but he also knew, when you find something unknown, you also find danger. As the sun began to set, long shadows stretched across the ground. Eli set up a small camp near the site. He couldn't stop staring at the metal. He wanted to dig more, but it was getting too dark, and the jungle was no place to move at night. That night, as he lay in his tent, Eli couldn't sleep. Strange sounds floated through the trees, clicks, hums, soft metallic groans. He told himself it was just the jungle settling. But deep down, he knew better. The next morning, he started early. He used a shovel this time, working fast. More and more of the strange metal came into view. It wasn't just a piece. It was part of something huge. A smooth curve suggested a wall or a hull, like the side of a ship. An alien ship. He stepped back, breathless. How could something this big stay hidden for so long? The ground shook again, stronger this time. Birds exploded from the trees, screaming. Suddenly, a loud click echoed from under the earth. A line of light appeared along the buried hull. It ran like a glowing scar through the dirt, pulsing gently. Eli stumbled back, heart racing. He fumbled for his camera and took pictures. Whatever he had found wasn't dead. It was sleeping. And now, it was waking up. He thought about calling the base camp again, but stopped himself. If they knew what he had found, They would come running. They would take it from him. No, this discovery was his. He had to go deeper. Eli packed up his things, grabbed extra supplies, and prepared to spend the next few days alone with the ship. As he hammered stakes into the ground to secure his tent, he looked up and saw something that froze his blood. High in the trees, hidden by leaves, something was watching him. Something with glowing red eyes. He blinked, and it was gone. Was it just his imagination, or was it something else awakened by the ship's stirring? One thing was clear. Eli Ward had found something powerful, and he was no longer alone. The next morning, Eli Ward woke up early. The jungle was strangely quiet again. No birds, no insects, no wind. It was like the whole forest was holding its breath. Eli stepped out of his tent and walked to the dig site. The glowing line on the buried ship was still there, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. It felt alive. He knelt beside it and touched the metal carefully. It was warm now, not cold like before. Suddenly, the ground under his feet made a soft humming sound. He jumped back, heart racing. "It's waking up," he whispered. His radio crackled. "Eli, come in," a voice called. "Any ghosts out there yet?" Eli didn't answer. He didn't want them coming. He didn't trust them to understand what he had found. He grabbed his gear and went back to work. He needed to find the entrance. There had to be a way inside. Hours passed. Sweat dripped from his face. His hands ached from digging. But finally, he found something. A small round hatch hidden under a layer of roots and mud. Strange alien symbols circled the hatch. Some were still glowing faintly. Eli brushed off the dirt and placed his hand on the hatch. Nothing happened. He pressed harder. Still nothing. Frustrated, he sat back and stared at the ship. "How do I open you?" he asked aloud. As if answering him, the symbols around the hatch began to shift and move. They rearranged themselves into a new pattern. Eli stood up quickly. "Was that me?" he whispered. He wasn't sure. Maybe the ship had scanned him. Maybe it had recognized something in him. Either way, the hatch let out a long, low hiss and slid open. A cold mist poured out. Eli coughed and waved his hand in front of his face. He strapped on a flashlight and looked inside. A narrow tunnel led downward into darkness. He hesitated. Every part of his body screamed, "Don't go in." But curiosity was stronger than fear. He climbed inside. The walls were made of the same strange metal, smooth and covered with faint lights. The air smelled old, like something that had been sealed away for centuries. As he moved deeper, the walls around him began to glow, lighting his way. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the tunnel. It wasn't in any language he knew. It was sharp, deep, and mechanical. Eli froze. The voice repeated again, louder. It seemed angry. "I'm not here to hurt you," Eli said, even though he knew the ship couldn't understand him. The voice stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Then a low rumble shook the tunnel. Lights flickered around him. Strange images flashed on the walls, scenes of battlefields, burning planets, and giant alien machines. Eli stumbled back, overwhelmed. "This was a warship," he whispered. He pressed forward carefully, deeper into the ship. He found a large open room filled with strange machines. At the center stood a tall pillar with more glowing symbols. He reached out to touch it. As his fingers brushed the pillar, a powerful force pulled at his mind. He saw flashes, alien faces, giant spaceships, weapons that could tear planets apart. The ship wasn't just showing him its past. It was asking him something. It was testing him. Eli gritted his teeth and focused. He didn't understand the language, but he understood the feeling. The ship was looking for a new master, someone to command it. "I'm here," he said out loud. "I'll take care of you." The pillar flashed bright blue. Suddenly, alarms blared. A deep voice shouted through the ship. Lights turned red. Eli stumbled back. Outside, in the jungle, something huge moved. Trees snapped. Ground shook. He ran back through the tunnel, heart pounding. When he climbed out of the hatch, the world outside had changed. Vines pulled back from the buried ship. Giant metallic structures rose from the ground. The ship was waking up fully now, and it was changing the jungle around it. Eli stared in shock. Then, in the distance, he heard something that made his blood run cold. The roar of engines. Not human engines. Ships were coming, and fast. The hunters had felt the ship's activation. Eli knew he had little time. He grabbed his backpack and ran to gather his equipment. He wasn't ready for a fight. But ready or not, the fight was coming, and he was standing at the center of it. Eli ran through the jungle, his heart pounding in his chest. The sound of engines grew louder behind him. He didn't know how many ships were coming, but he knew it would be trouble. He reached the edge of the buried warship and looked up. The huge metal hull now shone in the sunlight. Strange lights moved along its surface like living veins. His hand shook as he reached for the control panel near the open hatch. The ship was alive. It was waiting for him. Eli touched the panel. Suddenly, the entire hull lit up with blue light. The ship hummed loudly, like a giant machine waking from a long sleep. A voice spoke inside Eli's head, deep, cold, and mechanical. "Identify yourself," the voice said. Eli swallowed hard. He wasn't sure if he was dreaming or going crazy. "I am Eli Ward," he said clearly. "You are recognized," the voice replied. "You are commander of this vessel." Eli's eyes widened. Commander. Him. The ship's AI had chosen him. A map appeared on the panel. It showed the jungle around him, but also something else. A network of old battle sites and hidden weapons, buried under the earth. The ship was a war machine. It had fought in wars long ago, and now it wanted Eli to lead it again. Suddenly, the ship's defense systems powered up. Huge turrets rose from the jungle floor, shining with deadly energy. Invisible shields formed a dome over the area. Eli took a deep breath. He had never used a weapon like this, but he had no choice. From above, the alien ships were coming closer. Sleek, black fighters with sharp edges and glowing red engines. Eli pressed a button. A powerful beam shot from the warship's turret. It struck one of the enemy fighters, tearing it apart. The jungle exploded with energy and fire. Trees burned and fell. Aliens shouted orders in a language Eli couldn't understand. The first wave of attackers was shocked. They hadn't expected such power from a single human. Eli's fear changed to excitement. He was fighting with something stronger than himself. Something ancient and dangerous. But the battle was far from over. More ships appeared on the horizon. Faster, stronger, more deadly. Eli looked at the control panel again. The ship's eye was silent now, watching and waiting. Suddenly, a warning flashed. Enemy reinforcements incoming. Eli's hands moved quickly over the controls. He activated stealth drones that flew silently into the sky. They shot beams that confused the enemy sensors. The jungle filled with explosions and laser fire. The warship roared like a beast awakened after centuries of sleep. But then Eli noticed something strange. The ship's power was limited. It could not use all its weapons at once. The AI had locked many systems. Only the true master could unlock them. Eli clenched his fists. He had to earn the ship's full trust before the final battle. Suddenly, from the trees, a tall alien figure appeared. Its armor glowed dark blue, and its eyes burned like fire. "Surrender, human," the alien said in perfect English. "You have no idea what you've awakened." Eli stood firm. He looked at the warship behind him, the ancient giant ready to fight for him. "I don't surrender," Eli said. "I fight." The alien smiled, showing sharp teeth. "Then prepare to die." The warship's turrets powered up again. The jungle lit with deadly light. Eli raised his hands to the controls, ready for what came next. The beast was awake. and it was hungry for battle. The sky above the jungle darkened as strange ships appeared. They were like black shadows moving fast across the clouds. Eli stood at the edge of the ancient warship, watching the hunters arrive. These were no ordinary enemies. The alien hunters had guarded this world for thousands of years. Their job was to keep the warship hidden and prevent anyone from using its power. Eli felt the warship hum beneath his feet. It knew the hunters were coming. The ship's energy rose, like a wild animal ready to attack. From the forest, loud engines roared. Alien soldiers poured out of the ships, landing in the trees. They wore dark armor and carried strange weapons that glowed with red light. The hunters moved quickly. They wanted to destroy the warship before it could fight back. Eli grabbed his weapon and ran toward the first group of hunters. The warship's turrets began firing powerful beams. Trees exploded and sparks flew everywhere. The hunters fired back with laser guns, shooting fast and deadly. Eli dodged behind a fallen tree. His heart raced, but he kept fighting. The warship's AI spoke inside Eli's mind. "Use the terrain," it said. "Set traps." Eli nodded and looked around. The jungle was full of hidden dangers. The roots, the rocks, the thick vines. He led the hunters into a narrow path surrounded by thick trees. Suddenly, the warship activated ground traps hidden beneath the leaves. Sharp metal spikes shot up from the ground, piercing the armor of the first hunters. Screams filled the jungle. The hunters were surprised. They had never faced such powerful defenses before. Eli fired his weapon and ran deeper into the jungle. The warship's drones flew above, attacking the hunters from the sky. But the hunters were smart. They called for reinforcements. More ships landed, dropping heavy troops in large machines that smashed through trees like they were paper. Eli knew he could not fight them all alone. He needed help. He ran back to the warship and touched the control panel. The ship's AI responded. "Warning. Enemy heavy forces approaching," the voice said. "Full activation requires trust." Eli clenched his fists. He wanted to unlock the full power, but the ship needed to trust him more. Outside, the hunters formed a large circle. Their captain stepped forward. He was tall and fierce, with glowing red eyes. "Human," the captain said, "you should have left the ship buried. Now, you will die with it." Eli faced him, ready for a fight. "I won't stop," Eli said. "This ship is mine now." The captain laughed. "We will see." The hunters charged. The warship's turrets opened wide, firing powerful blasts. The jungle lit up with explosions and fire. Eli moved fast, using the jungle for cover. He fired at the hunters and dodged their attacks. The battle raged for hours. Trees fell, the ground shook, but Eli and the warship fought together as one. Finally, the hunters began to retreat. Their machines broke. Their weapons ran out of power. Eli stood, breathing hard. The jungle was quiet again. But he knew this was only the beginning. More hunters would come, and Eli had to be ready. The jungle was calm after the battle, but Eli knew the peace wouldn't last. The hunters were hurt but not defeated. They would return, stronger and faster. Eli sat by the warship's control panel, trying to understand its complex systems. The ship was ancient but powerful. It held secrets and weapons no human had ever seen. Suddenly, a soft alarm beeped. The warship's AI spoke inside Eli's mind. "Enemy forces returning. Estimated arrival. Minutes." Eli grabbed his gear and ran outside. The sun was low, painting the sky red and orange. Shadows stretched across the jungle floor. From the distance, he saw them, hundreds of alien ships approaching fast. Their engines roared like thunder. Eli's heart pounded. He wasn't just defending himself now. He was defending the whole world. The warship's turrets rose from the ground, glowing bright. The jungle shook as they fired huge energy blasts at the incoming ships. But these hunters were prepared. They flew low, dodging the beams and firing back with deadly precision. Eli knew the warship had more to give. He pressed a secret button on the control panel. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed from beneath the earth. The jungle floor cracked open, and massive mechanical legs burst out. The warship was no longer just a ship. It was a giant walking machine. Eli climbed into the cockpit. The controls were complex, but the AI guided him. "Commander, activation of combat mode successful," the voice said. The giant machine moved forward, crushing trees beneath its feet. Eli aimed at the enemy ships and fired powerful cannons. The hunters were shocked. They had never seen this weapon in action. Eli fought fiercely. He dodged attacks and struck back harder. Every blast he fired was a message. Humans were not weak. The battle was brutal. The jungle was a battlefield of fire and metal. At one point, an enemy fighter flew close. Eli raised a giant mechanical arm and grabbed it, crushing the ship in his grip. The pilot screamed, but Eli showed no mercy. "This is just the beginning," Eli said, his voice steady. The hunters began to retreat again, leaving wreckage behind. Eli stood tall inside the giant machine, breathing hard. He had made his first mark. But he knew the war was far from over. The ancient warship was awake now, and so was Eli. Together, they were ready to fight. The jungle was quiet again, but Eli knew this calm was the eye of the storm. The hunters would return one last time, stronger and more dangerous. Eli stood on the warship's massive control deck, surrounded by glowing panels and strange alien technology. He had learned so much from the ship's eye, but one secret still remained locked: the ship's full power. The AI spoke softly inside his mind. "Trust must be earned. You must prove you are worthy." Eli clenched his fists. He was ready. Suddenly, the ship's core chamber opened. A bright blue light poured out, showing a strange symbol in the air. It pulsed with energy, a key to unlock the ship's final power. Eli reached out and touched the light. A rush of energy flowed through his body. He saw visions, planets burning, stars exploding, and the power of the ancient warship tearing through enemy fleets. He understood now. This ship was not just a weapon. It was a force of nature. It could change the fate of the galaxy. But the hunters were already coming. From the sky, dozens of enemy ships attacked. Their weapons were bigger and deadlier than before. Eli stood tall, commanding the warship like a true master. The ship transformed again. Massive wings spread out, and it lifted off the ground. Now, it was a giant flying fortress, shining bright against the dark sky. Eli fired the main cannon. A powerful beam shot out, destroying a group of enemy fighters instantly. The hunters fought back fiercely. Their leader appeared, a huge alien warrior in shining armor. He flew close to Eli's warship and fired a massive weapon. The warship shook but didn't fall. Eli's voice was calm but strong. "You thought humans were weak. You were wrong." With a final push, Eli activated the ship's ultimate weapon, a beam of pure energy that cut through the hunter's fleet like a knife. The enemy ships exploded one by one. The jungle below was safe once more. The hunters retreated, defeated. Eli had won. The warship landed gently back on the jungle floor. The ancient machine powered down, resting after its long battle. Eli stepped out, tired but proud. He looked at the jungle, quiet, alive, free. He smiled. "They laughed at the human," he said softly, "but I found the power they never expected." The jungle held many secrets, but Eli and the warship were ready for whatever came next, because together they were unstoppable.